Prosecutions and the men and women who literally risk their lives for us every single day to stop this narcotics crisis. I thank you for that, and I hope you'll convey that feeling to them as well. I'd like to read something and see if any of you disagree with this. Cartels have flooded the nation with illegal firearms sold by U.S. gun manufacturers in Mexico. The Mexican government estimated that around 200,000 U.S.-sourced firearms are smuggled into Mexico annually. Do you disagree with that? I see no disagreement. The hope is that the United States can do something about the flow of firearms from our country into Mexico to these cartels. Heavily armed cartels use military-style weapons and other weapons to assassinate politicians, attack the military, kill and injure judges, journalists, and police, terrorize ordinary citizens throughout Mexico. The cartels traffic fentanyl and other drugs into the U.S. and spur migration, and they're using these same weapons against your men and women in law enforcement. Is that a fact? Have you heard that? Do you disagree with that? No disagreement. In January, the Justice Department reported a 25% increase in crime gun tracing requests from Mexican authorities in recent years. Over 3/4 of crime guns recovered in Mexico are traced to 4 states: Arizona, California, New Mexico, and Texas, according to the Justice Department. Has that been your experience as well, that is a large source of these illegal firearms coming from the United States to the cartels? The answer in the affirmative. It's also noteworthy that 90% of gun dealers in the United States do not sell guns into the crime gun pipeline. If you act safely, as most gun dealers do, you would not supply a crime gun pipeline. It's only a small percentage of gun dealers who sell virtually all their crime guns, and manufacturers have been told not to supply those dealers. Are you aware of that effort? Have you heard anything about that? It would seem that that would be a critical part. Now, this is a tough issue. When we get into firearms, we start talking about the Second Amendment, and we choose up our sides and go to the respective corners. It happens here on this committee, it happens in Congress, and it happened here today. I listened carefully to your presentations, each of you. Mr. Allen, you mentioned the word firearm one time. Mr. Stevens, you referred to the ATF. Mr. Perez, you referred to weapons. This seems to me to be a major element, arming the terrorist groups called the Mexican drug cartels. Do you think that the end of this problem necessarily involves doing something about weapons shipped from the United States into the hands of the Mexican cartels? Mr. Allen?
Sir, I think one of the best tactics that we have at our disposal to combat that is the formation of these Homeland Security task forces. It's probably the greatest collaborative effort I've ever seen, taking on this whole government approach, and more specifically this whole federal law enforcement approach at combating these terrorist organizations that use our own freedoms against us on a regular basis. And I can stand before you now and tell you that it's definitely one of the greatest collaborative. There's egos aside, sides aside, everyone is in this fight together.
Can you tell me what is being done to stop the flow of firearms from the United States into the hands of these terrorist cartels selling drugs?
So specifically on the firearms issue, I would have to defer to my colleagues at the ATF, but I can tell you that with the formation of these task forces, you're seeing increased information sharing and increased intelligence sharing, and I think that's going to go a long way to.
Mr. Stevens, what's your experience?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that question. As he said, with HSTFs, I think it's a phenomenal opportunity. We are bringing all of our superpowers, unique powers, and authorities together in one room. We work daily with the ATF in Texas and New Mexico to ensure that we're having an understanding of what's going on as it relates to their straw purchasing. Also, understanding HSI's role and our partnerships with Customs and Border Protection. We're ensuring outbound inspections are done. We've continued working operations in the El Paso region, and over this past last 2 operations we've worked, we've seized over 19,000 rounds of 7.62 millimeter ammo, over 60 rounds of 50 caliber, 400 rounds of 22, seized 3 rifles, 4 pistols, 150 cal. So we're working every single day to ensure that stuff that's exported out of the country contrary to law, that we stop that before it gets into the hands of the cartel.
Are you identifying the gun dealers in the United States that are supplying these Mexican drug cartels with these firearms?
We are allowing ATF to work that back. We're working on the exportation piece and trying to identify the network that it's going to. We're providing that information with ATF, who's partnered with us in every single endeavor that we do, and they're taking and working it back to the gun store.
I'd like to ask Mr. Perez to respond, if that's all right, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Perez?
Sir, I know we spent a lot of time today talking already about fentanyl, but the focus of our cartel investigations or gang investigations are broadly focused. These organizations are polycriminal. They're involved in gun trafficking, narcotics trafficking. When we're talking about investigating the cartels, we investigate all elements of it. So whether it's the money movements or the trafficking in firearms, the illicit trafficking in firearms. If we identify any co-conspirators that are complicit as a part of that, as conspirators in that cartel, we're going to investigate that to the full extent we can.
Excuse me, does that include American firearms dealers who are selling these guns?
So again, in an investigation, anyone who's complicit in that conspiracy potentially, who we find to be complicit and is prosecutable, we're going to present that obviously for prosecution.
Have there been prosecutions of these gun dealers in the United States?
I don't have any firsthand anecdotal examples, sir. Again, I would defer to ATF that handles more of that piece specifically. I will say, sir, though, just in the last 6 months through our cartel and gang investigations, we've seized close to 4,000 guns nationally, but about 2,200, sir, along our border offices. So as we investigate more aggressively the cartels, the gangs, we will encounter firearms, illicit firearms, and encounter how those firearms have landed in the hands of these criminals.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Before I call on Senator